beautiful homemakers. We're continuing Chapter 6, Secret number 3 of Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. I'll reread the last paragraph of the last video. Going home to an unsympathetic wife is the main reason a husband leaves his wife for another woman, and always for a woman who is more sympathetic to his needs, a woman who soothes his hurt pride, a woman who gives him some admiration. Bev reddened and said no more. She recalled her painful experience of several years back. What had her husband seen in that cheap, repulsive woman? She cringed at the memory. The teacher continued. Please try and appreciate the heavy responsibility our husbands carry throughout their lives, especially their working lives. When a man marries, he takes on his shoulders the burden of providing for a family. He cannot lay this burden down with a clear conscience as long as he lives. He knows his family's success and welfare rely heavily on his efforts. The burden is with a man 24 hours a day. Most men take this responsibility very seriously. A feeling that he is failing in this masculine role can hurt his pride so much that he can turn to drink or drugs to dull the pain and disgrace he feels. Also, your husband's work world is competitive. His job is never 100% secure. There's often constant pressure on him to exceed last year's efforts. Pressure to keep up with competitors and his peers. And as he ages, energetic young men sometimes surpass him and are placed in positions over him. Why some women want to choose a life career in that masculine, high-pressure environment, I do not understand. It's not the glamorous world we daydream it to be. I don't agree with that, said Beth. I find it exciting. Well, yes, it can be, Beth, for a few years. But the pressure is relentless, and eventually it takes its toll on a woman's femininity. We look at this a little deeper in secret number 6. So when your husband arrives home, even if he's in a good mood, don't greet him with your problems. Don't let the children go to him with their problems. Don't quiz him about his day. Rather, just give him smiles, comforting words, and a sympathetic ear. A man cannot help but deeply love a woman who treats him lovingly and comforts him when he is tired and discouraged after a long day. Take the time to look your best for him. Wear feminine clothing of the kind you know he likes to see you wear. Organize the children in the evening meal to give him his 30 minutes of peace and quiet to recover. Then, wait until he has eaten before raising problems that need his attention. Turn a blind eye to his less than best behavior as he collapses and unwinds. He has come home to you to recover. He is tired of being his best all day. Mother him a little. He will quickly bounce back and treat you like a queen. Bev, you have a question. Yes. Now what about when my husband comes home late for his meal? I find that very annoying. Most women do, Bev. Just be forgiving. It's not that serious. He's more important than a cold meal. When you live fascinating womanhood, your husband won't be late without a good cause. A man's job is important to him, and customers and bosses sometimes make extra demands on his time. Remember, he's out there working to provide for his family, for you. Yeah, well, maybe you're right. I never quite looked at it like that. Cherry spoke. My husband nearly always comes home late, too. He runs his own business and always seems to be working. I feel he neglects our little girl sometimes, and I can't get him to do any work around the house. He's a good man, but how can I get him to think of me and his daughter a bit more and do more around the house? Who's he working for, Cherry? He's working for you and his daughter. Some men show their love by working hard, but we wives don't always see it that way. Appreciate what he's doing. Sometimes a man has to work long hours to build up a business or get out of debt. He may put all his energy into his work and neglect the house maintenance for a time, but we learn how to handle this problem in secret number 9. Class, if you have a hard-working husband, be proud of him, and don't encourage him to take retirement early, if at all. That's not good for a man. Edison the inventor was a hard-working man. He worked right up to his death at age 84. His hard work gave us the blessing of electric lights, recorded music, motion pictures, and other inventions. However, I can promise you all that when you live FW fully, your husband won't spend any longer time at his work than he really needs to. The same applies to other activities that take him away from you. We must attract our husband home, not try and force him home. It just doesn't work. So, to sum up, your husband needs you to comfort him when he's discouraged. He needs you to heal the wounds that others have inflicted on his pride. When you do this, you become indispensable to him, and he will love you tenderly in return. Many women also report that their husbands become more successful in their work when they apply this secret number 3 in their marriage. I firmly believe it. Now, this is a good time to explain a common problem. Many wives wonder why their husbands never offer to take them out to dinner. To understand this, we need to look at our homes through a man's eyes. You see, home to a man is like a restaurant is to us women, a place away from the never-ending demands upon our time. So a night out to dinner is nowhere near as attractive to him as it is to us, particularly when he also has to pay the bill. And this can be half the week's housekeeping food money. However, a man willingly makes sacrifices for the woman he loves, and he enjoys doing so. When you live all 10 secrets of FW, your husband will delight in fulfilling your innermost needs. Now, let's look at how we can apply this secret to a man who has suffered a severe blow to his pride. A man who is going through a crisis. Cherry, you have a question? Yes. Are you sure this comforting and sympathy works for all men? My husband's business is in trouble. It even looks as if it might fail. When he told me about it this week, I was sympathetic, but do you know what happened? He got angry at me. He told me to shut up. It was apparent to Angela that Cherry was not her normal cheerful self tonight. The teacher looked concerned. What exactly did you say to him, Cherry? I said to him, "Don't worry, John. If you fail in your business, it doesn't matter. I'll be happy if you just have an ordinary job, and I got told to shut up." The teacher smiled. This is a good case to illustrate what I was about to talk about. Cherry, you broke an important law of fascinating womanhood. Can anybody tell Cherry why her husband got angry with her? Yes, I think I can, said Angela. She hurt his pride when she belittled his ability to save his business. Correct, Angela. Well spoken. Yes, I think we can be certain that Cherry's husband wants her to have confidence in him, to believe that he can be successful in his time of crisis. Our husbands are far more likely to come through a crisis successfully when we are fully behind them, believing in them, trusting in them. Cherry's case reminds me of another crisis situation that came up in class some years ago. This woman's husband had just become redundant. She rightly said to him, "Henry, this may be the door to opportunity, a stepping stone to greater success." Her husband was so relieved he almost wept, and she was right. Her husband went on to become a very successful manager of another company. So when your husband suffers a severe blow to his pride, sympathize with him. But Also let him know that you still believe in him. That's what he needs most, your trust in him. Remain calm and optimistic. Don't tell him to count his blessings. Don't offer advice to solve his problems unless he asks you. Just sympathize with him, support him, trust him. When he feels better, again express your confidence in him. Let him know you trust his ability to overcome the crisis. Don't minimize his problems or make it sound too easy. You'll rob him of his potential heroism. Let him feel that no matter how great the struggle, you are confident he will be successful. And whatever you do, don't take over the reins. Let him remain in control. Hold him as you sit with him. Look into his eyes as you speak to him. Remind him of his strengths. Truly trust him. He won't let you down. Love is the greatest power in the universe. Angela saw that Cherry was now smiling and looking her old cheerful self again. She obviously understood what the teacher was saying. Angela liked Cherry. Another critical time for your husband's pride is when he first reveals to you an ambitious plan, or a noble idea that he has been secretly considering. We must not let our feminine fears, our need for security, dampen his enthusiasm or hold him back. Never pour cold water on his ideas. It's a common female trait to do this. Doing so often causes a man to erect a wall of silence. Rather, let your husband know that you believe he can achieve it. If it's impractical, others will point it out to him in due course, but he will be comforted to know that his wife believed in him. If he goes ahead with his plan, support him all the way. He'll probably make mistakes, but mistakes are stepping stones to success. Now, what do you do if your husband does something really wrong and you get to hearing about it? Not unfaithfulness, we'll deal with that shortly, but something dishonest or shameful. Here's what Fascinating Womanhood teaches. First, don't ignore it or pretend you don't know, but do show a reluctance to believe he did it. Let him clearly know that you did not believe he would do such a thing, that it must have been a temporary lapse. Let him feel your disappointment, but reassure him of your unwavering belief in his better side. Then say no more about it, ever. Never lower your standards to his. For a man to love you deeply, he must always feel that you are a better and more noble person than him. Bev spoke. Good grief, my husband's always doing wrong. He's an alcoholic. What can I do about that? God knows I suffered enough with my own father. He was an alcoholic too, and now I'm married to one. Well, Bev, I don't mean to be unkind, but a daughter of an alcoholic often marries a man with an addiction. She thinks he will change if she gives him enough love, but it doesn't often happen. The main problem with most addicts is a poor self-image. Addictions such as alcohol, drugs, including prescribed tranquilizers and sleeping pills, tobacco, the P word, and gambling are a major problem today, but they can all be overcome with God's help. Let's look at why a man becomes an addict. An addict is usually a sensitive man with a poor self-image, who often suffers emotional pain. This emotional pain usually comes from criticism by others, or perhaps, to put it another way, the lack of admiration of others. Or the emotional pain can come from his conscience, from the guilt of past wrongdoing, or even from the everyday pressure of just earning a living in the modern world. An addict often only enjoys a feeling of normal well-being when he has deadened his higher mind with alcohol or drugs. The so-called high he feels is just the way a normal person feels most of the time. But to the addicted man, by comparison to his usual depressed or anxious self, it is a wonderful feeling. He is at last temporarily freed from his emotional pain. These personality disorders can often be traced back to childhood influences, especially growing up without parental discipline. Many addicts were abused or spoiled as boys by parents who never taught them to cope with the responsibilities of life. And even more often, they have grown up with lack of admiration from their parents. We learned last week in Secret Number 2 how important admiration is for both boys and men. Abuse or a parent's death can also contribute to this emotional pain. Elsie spoke. Yes, Harmony, your point earlier about mothers spoiling their boys is very real. The youngest son in a large family is especially at risk. Sometimes we mothers won't let our last child grow up. I was guilty of that. I was still calling my youngest son my baby when he was 20. He didn't seem to mind, but my husband firmly insisted that I not spoil him. Anyway, he's turned out fine, a very confident boy. Sorry, I'm still doing it. A very confident man. He's 30 years old. Thank you, Elsie. Yes, that's a very good point. Motherhood is so wonderful, but what an important responsibility. We look at motherhood in Secret Number 6. Now, just a final point about overcoming serious addictions. Usually the only effective way is with the help of another person who has overcome a similar addiction. Groups such as AA, NA, or Celebrate Recovery are most effective. The cure starts with a simple phone call, but it needs to be done by the addict himself and to the organization best able to help him. They're listed in the phone book. If an addict is unsure which organization is best to use, he can phone AA for advice. Of course, there are numerous other common addictions for both men and women like TV, soaps, sports, sweet fatty foods like chocolate, fast food, overeating in general, gambling, shopping, spending, reading love stories, overcleaning, and hypochondria. When we're addicted to something, we feel a strong craving when we're denied our addiction for several days. We will go to great lengths to obtain it. We learn how to overcome these lesser addictions in Secret Number 5, but serious addictions nearly always need outside help and prayer. We will continue the class in the next video. Bye!